Hello everyone, and this is what we are building today, a Tic Tac Toe game where you play against an artificial intelligence, kind of. So you get the idea. I'm always X's and the computer is always circles. So as always, we start with an empty React app, and inside app.js, let's start by removing all the stuff we don't need. Maybe we can add a main element here. And let's write some tests so we know it works. Yes, it does work. We don't need this logo. And inside app CSS, let's just remove everything. Okay, so the first part is the actual board. So to create a board, I will create a new component. So new file, board.js. And here let's do function board. And it will return a div, and here export default board. Okay, and board will have some props that we will use here, so we can pass children and everything. Right, now back to our app. Let's put the board here. So board, and it has been imported for me. All right, and now let's go to app CSS. Okay, let's place body here, and background color will be, let's say 123, so it will be dark, and the color of the text will be white. Yes, now the board, so div board, and here we will do display grid and template columns of 1fr, 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 and grid template rows, same 1fr, 1fr, 1fr. And now we need to also add some border here. So let's say that board will have border solid of 2 pixels and white. So we have this border here. And now let's add this main element that will have width of 300 pixels. Let's do margin 50 pixels from the top, auto from the sides, and 0 from the bottom. So now here is our board that is empty for now. Now let's go back to app.js and let's create a new component here called square.js, and here let's do function square, and it will return a div with class name square. And as always, export default square. And now back to app.js. Okay, the square, and we need actually 9 of those. 3, 6, 9. All right, now back to app CSS, and let's add some styles for the squares. Div square, and let's put width will be 100 pixels, height will be also 100 pixels, border 2 pixels solid white, and box sizing border box. Cool. Now back to app.js. So first we want to put all those squares somewhere to not repeat this stuff. So let's use state for this. Import use state from React. And now inside our app, let's do const squares and set squares equals use state, and the default value will be 9 empty squares. So I will create a function that returns an empty array of 9 elements. So let's do const default squares is a function that returns new array of 9 elements. And this should work. Let's try. Here default will be default squares. All right, and now here inside of board, let's do squares map, and for each square let's just do square like this. Oops, I forgot to do fill with null. Let's try to refresh, and now we have 9 squares. Okay, so each square can be null or x or small o. So first let's fix so we can add our first move. So on each square let's do on click, and here let's add the function handle square click that we will add here, function handle square click. And we also need to have an index to know what which square we have clicked on. So this one is 0, this one is 1, this one is 2, and so on. So we have actually here square, and we can add index that we can pass further here. And here let's do let new squares equals squares, and then new squares of this index equals our x, and then let's do set squares, and here new array of our from our new squares like this. Then we are updating squares, but now we need to place the x's. So to do this, let's place a property on the square component. So x will be if square is x, then 1, otherwise 0. And same for the circles or O's, like this. And here inside square, we will have props here, but let's do like this. So if props x, then we place an x, otherwise we check if props O, then we place O, otherwise we place nothing. So now let's try to click on one, and it doesn't work. Yeah, let's also pass all the props here that we missed. Now let's see. Yeah, we have an X here. And here, and here, and here, and here. All right. So now let's just go back to app CSS, and in each square, let's do font size and maybe for rem. Font size for rem and text align center. Now it's much better. So next thing, let's go back to app.js, and we can't place X's all the time. We need to fix so it will check if it's our turn. So to do this, let's do const is player turn, and to calculate this, we need to check all the squares and filter to know how many elements are placed. So for every square, we will filter out that it's not null, and then length, and if we divide by 2, the rest of it should be 0. So on the beginning there are 0 elements here, 0 squares filled, so this one will return length of 0, and divided by 2, the rest of this dividing will be 0. So now we can use if is player turn, then we can do this. Otherwise we will not do anything. So now I can do the first move, but after this I cannot click any more squares. Okay, now we need to fix moves for our computer. So let's use effect. And here let's use effect. So every time squares changes, we will run this function. So first let's check if it's our turn. Let's do const is computer turn. And this will be almost the same as for player turn, with the difference that the rest of the dividing will be 1. So let's do now if is computer turn, then let's do alert 1. Refresh. Now we get alert 1 because after we placed this X here, it's their turn for the computer to place a circle somewhere. Okay, now first we need to explain to the computer what are the rules. So we need to start by explaining what are the lines. So this is one line, second, third, and it can also go vertically and also like this. So I will start with defining lines. Const lines. So the first line is squares of indexes 0, 1, and 2, because this one is 0, this one is 1, this one is 2. Then the second line is actually 3, 4, 5. Then the third line is 6, 7, 8. Then those lines vertical. So 0, 3, 6, and 1, 4, 7, and 2, 5, 8. And now those lines. So let's do 0, 4, 8, and 2, 4, 6. Okay, those are all the lines we have here. So first let's allow computer to put anywhere on an empty place. So let's do const, and now we need to first find empty indexes. So index number 6 is taken. So computer needs to pick any of those that are empty. So let's do empty indexes equals squares, and now we need to map them. And here we'll have square and index of every square. And then we need to check if square is null. Then we will return an index, otherwise we'll return null. So using this, we will only return indexes that are empty, otherwise it will be null. But now we need to also filter out the null values. So let's do filter value, and of each value we need to check that it's not null. Okay, now let's pick a random index. So random index is empty indexes, and now we will take math sale, and here math random times random index, and not random index, empty indexes length. Now we can put computer circle at this index, but let's create a function for this. Const put computer at, and we'll pass index here, and similar here. So let's do let new squares equals squares, then new squares of this index will be circle because this is computer move, and last thing set squares, and here as a new array like this. Now we can use this, so let's do put computer at and random index. Okay, and it worked, but let's refresh. Yeah, it works. I actually won, but we haven't implemented the rules yet. Okay, so let's implement the rules. Let's do const and player 1, and we know that player 1 if any of the lines are filled with x's. So to know this, let's create another function here called lines.r, and this will be a function with a b, c. And here in player 1, we want to find lines that are x, 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 and the length of them needs to be bigger than 0. Oops, this is a function. Oops, let's just say it will return an empty array for now. Okay, but you get the idea. To know if the player won, we need to find the lines that are xxx, and here we'll write this function. Okay, so let's put it in a new line, and now we need to take all the lines and we need to filter them to find lines that have only x's. So on every line we get these square indexes, and for this let's create another function, and here we need to place return. Now we need to have square values, so let's do const square values equals square indexes map, and for each index we want to get square of this index. Oops, squares of this index. Alright, so we have values that we are looking for and we have square values. Now we just need to compare them. Comparing arrays is tricky, so I will use JSON for this. So let's do an array of A, B, C, sorted, and then stringified. So the stringify needs to be exactly the same as JSON stringify of square values that is also sorted, just in case. And now let's try if player 1, then let's do alert player 1. Now let's try this. Yeah, player 1. Now let's do the same for computer. Const computer 1 is when lines that are the length of those lines is bigger than 0. Let's do if computer 1. Let's do alert computer 1. Now we need to tell computer that if I, for example, place it here and let's say here, that computer shouldn't put it here, but it should find a way where there are 3 empty places so it can still win. Okay, now let's make computer a little smarter. So if it's computer turn, here we are placing in a random place, but let's put this one somewhere here up. Okay, and now first let's check if there's a line that computer has two circles in a row. So if there's a circle here and here, then the computer should put the third circle here. So let's do a const winning rows or winning lines equals rows that are lines that are 0 or O, and the third is null. And now we can check if winning lines length of those is bigger than 0. Then we know that there's a line where computer have two circles and the third square is empty. So we can get this first line like this, and inside this line we need to find the square that is empty. So let's do filter index where squares of this index is null. Oops. Squares. Then we get the first, and let's put it as a win position or win index, and let's put computer at winning index, and let's also add return here so it will not go further. Right, so if I place it here and here, now computer should put the circle here because there is line that is O and null. Here's O, there's another O, and here is null. So if I place here, computer 1. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so now if I want to teach computer to block my moves, so if I place X here and X here, I want computer to place the next move here, not here. So let's do const lines to block equals lines that are X, X, and null. So for example, this one, there is X, X, and empty. And let's do if lines to block length of those is bigger than 0, then we need to defend ourselves as a computer. So let's do const block index, so the index of the square to block, and same as for the winning index, we'll just copy this one. So in the row we will find the square that is null, so it's empty, and then we will put computer at this block index, and it's not winning lines here, it's lines to block. Let's try it. Here it blocked me. If I place here, it blocked here. Correct. Okay, now the third thing is that computer should try to put stuff in lines. So if I place mine here, then let's say I'll put here, it will block. But if I place it here and then some random place, let's say here, computer should not put the circle here. Instead, you should put it here, so it will be closer to having 3 circles in a row. Let's try to find lines to go. So with 1 circle but 2 empty. So let's call it lines to continue. and this will be lines that are O, null, null. And if we find any of them, so lines to continue, length is greater than 0, then we should use one. So let's pick an empty square that is inside this line. So same as here, we can copy this part to find an empty square inside the line. So lines to continue, the first line, and then let's filter indexes to find a square with this index that is null, and let's get the first one, and then we can do just put computer at and the result of this. Okay, let's test it. If I place here, and if I place here, then computer should take this center square. Yes, and it did. Okay, so now the problem is that instead of winning, it tried to block me first. And it's because we have this winning below the lines to block. We just need to place it above. Like this. Now let's try here. And if I place X here, it would block me, but now we have changed the positions of those rules. So if I place here, the computer will put O here, circle here. So let's do here. Yes, computer 1, okay, because it has 3 O's or 3 circles in a row. Okay, now let's fix the message a little better. So instead of player 1 or computer 1, let's use state for this. So const, let's do winner and set winner will be use state, and the default will be null. Okay, and if player 1, then we will do set winner, and the winner is X. If computer 1, then set winner, winner is O. Now let's try to print it. So below the board, let's do div result, and let's show it only if we have a winner, and also that, let's say, if the winner is X, so it's the player, then we will show div result saying you won. And if we have the winner and the winner is circle, so it's computer, then we will have you lost. Let's also add some classes here. So this one will be green and this one will be red. And now let's go back to app.css, div result as the font size of 2 rem, some padding of 10 pixels. And now let's do div result green. We'll have a background color of, let's say, let's do 5A5, and div result red, we will do background color of A55. Now let's try to win. You lost. Okay, now I need to refresh. You lost. Let's win maybe one time. Yeah, you won. Okay, so everything works now. The other things that can be added are like counting how many times I won or computer won, or resetting the game. So a button, if someone won, then a button to reset the board, or even coloring of the squares that are winning. But this will be all for today. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.